This is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Much thanks for being with us on UBC TV. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Extra, which happens to be an extension of Good Morning Uganda. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyitono, in case you've just joined, but just a quick and simple reminder. Please, we are here from 6:30 and make it a date with us every weekday to start your day with us on UBC TV. So much that you can't afford to miss. We do usually have some light moments, yet very informative discussions, because we make sure that you start your day a very informed person, well equipped with what is happening locally and international. Of course, the sports lovers, there's always sports updates with Ruben and Pima. Now, welcome to Good Morning Uganda Extra, where this morning I happen to have a panel of competent people to discuss the oil sector in our country. And we are in the 90 days of oil and gas media campaign. Now, what entails here is to ensure that Ugandans are well versed with this important natural resource that we have. For many countries, oil has been a tremendous blessing, and for a few, it has been a curse. So, Uganda, we are doing all it takes to ensure that our oil is indeed a blessing, not forgetting that 2025, we expect to have our first oil as a country. Now, joining me for discussion, I have Peter Mulisa, who happens to be the Chief Legal and Corporate Affairs Officer, Uganda National Oil Company. You're most welcome, Peter.
Thank you. Good morning to viewers.
And just next to me here, I have Ali Sekatawa, who is the Director, Legal and Corporate Affairs at the Uganda Petroleum Authority. You're most welcome.
Thank you, and good morning to the viewers.
Then in the middle, I have Humphrey Asimwe, who is the CEO, that is a Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning to our viewers.
Now, we are looking at these 90 days of media campaign, and what stands out very much here is that the intention is for you, as they have continuous media engagements, to ensure that all the questions you have surrounding this sector are answered. But this will take me straight to Humphrey. Let's begin by understanding, because this is organized by the Chamber of Mines and Petroleum. Briefly, take us through your mandate. Is this an non-government organization, a parastatal? What do you do, and who exactly are you?
Thank you very much. Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum is a member-based organization that brings together private sector players that are involved in the oil and gas as well as the mining sectors of this country. It was formed in 2010 and brings together private sector players that are either suppliers or are heavily involved in the oil and gas and minerals sector, and with the intention of advocacy and lobbying, as well as being able to do capacity building for the members and enable them have the requisite standards and the requisite qualifications to participate in the sectors, as well as business clinics for our members, and to be able to bring members together to network and find business, work business together in terms of joint ventures and anything else that would move us together. Particularly in the oil and gas sector, we are very, very passionate about national content, because as a chamber of mines and petroleum, we are interested in seeing that Uganda retains value from the oil and gas sector. And that is one of the reasons as to why we're doing this 90 days of oil and gas, so that we can disseminate as much information on the opportunities, on environment, social and governance issues, on any challenges that may be in the sector, on what we can be able to do to get as many Ugandans benefiting from this sector.
I love the word national content, and as many Ugandans to benefit in this sector, because we rightly know that the oil and gas sector is a very expensive venture. And of course, we know that most over time, this means we have foreign people coming and invest in this sector. Now, this takes me to Ali. When you talk about national content, not only the term, but what entails in this, and what are we doing to ensure that we promote national content?
Thank you. National content as a concept is defined in our laws, the ones that were made in 2013, but it is the promotion of enterprises that are Ugandan established or Ugandan owned, to the employment of Ugandans and skilling of Ugandans and giving them capacity to work and take benefit of the sector. As we stand right now, this has been one of the core values of the sector. And right now, from February 2022, when FID was taken for the 3 projects of Kingfisher, Tilenga, and ECOP, we now have over 10,000 people who are working directly in this project, either as employed by the oil companies or the contractors. And out of them, we now have close to 95% Ugandans, and that's what we call national content. We've made it mandatory that for all unskilled labor, they should employ people from where the project is. Semi-skilled, you do from the community, the regional community, and for all the skilled, we require that jobs are advertised before expatriates come here. And you've seen many adverts in the last 1 year, and many are coming. We are also concentrating on companies which are supplying goods and services, and we require that priority is given to Ugandan companies. And as such, out of close to $7 billion of contracts that have been awarded from February 2022 when FID was done up to now, close to $1.7 billion is to Ugandan companies. And for us, I think that's what Humphrey is talking about. That's what we call value retention in the country. And we aim at having a target of retaining at least 40% of the value that is coming into the country as retained as part of national content. Yes. I'm
happy that we have this ring fencing, because actually it promotes national content, like you said, and the fact that that was factored in. How do we close gaps for unskilled labor? Yes, this is for Ugandans within the area. Then when you talk about any advert, priority first given to people who are Ugandans, this is also another thing I find very, very okay. And we hope the 40% you're talking about retention, at the end of the day, we shall have it. But I want to move to Peter. This is an area of my interest so much, and that is the refinery. You know, so much has been said, and so much we are waiting to see. But just give us an update when it comes to this refinery. How far are we progressing? You know, because we have a deadline. 2025, I'm eager to see the first oil.
Great. Thank you. So we in the oil and gas sector, we are developing about 5 projects, the key ones. The refinery is one of them. The ones for which we took a final investment decision in February 2022 were Kingfisher and Telenga, which will produce the crude oil, and the East African crude oil pipeline that will transport the crude oil to Tanga for export to the international market. So those 3 are now under construction. Right behind them is a refinery, a 60,000 barrels per day refinery. So the refinery will be able to refine 60,000 barrels of crude oil per day. That's basically what it means. And as you understand, the refinery requires crude oil as its only raw material to function. So it's natural and it's prudent that it is slightly behind the oil producing projects, which are Telenga and Kingfisher. So it's structured to be at the maximum 2 years behind first oil. And I think we are on course because we've done the preliminary elements that are required to get the refinery to the final investment decision and construction stage. So what have we done? We've done front-end engineering and design. Basically, the engineering design that tells you this refinery will require this technology, it will produce this kind of products, what we call the product slate. And then we try to see how is the market going to respond to these products. Can all these products be sold in Uganda? Do we need to export? If we are to export, what do we do? And so that is done. And we had that approved by the government and by the regulator. So we have that in the bag. It's done. We are just doing value engineering on top of that. Now, because we are sensitive to the environment and we apply the highest standards in environmental management, we've also done an environmental social impact assessment for the refinery. That is complete. We're at the stage of sending it to the National Environmental Management Authority, NEMA, to review. And that process of review will involve the public, it will involve academia, it will involve civil society. So the whole country will be involved. And we believe that that will be concluded soon. And thereafter then, we'll be able to take our final investment decision, which we hope should be taken next year. And then we start the construction. Our intention is to have this refinery operational and commissioned to start refining crude oil by 2027. Why is the refinery important? Maybe if I can pose that question to drive the point. The refinery is very important because of majorly 3 reasons. One is that we are spending about $1.4 billion every year in importing petroleum products from the Gulf, from India, and from other places. Now, this refinery will be able to substitute a significant portion of that import. And what that does to our balance of payment, our balance of trade is absolutely significant. Second, as a country, we cannot develop without industrialization. We cannot grow. So, and oil and gas is very important in supporting industrialization. So this refinery will help us, will help us build an industrial base around the areas of petrochemical industries, fertilizer plants, and other elements. And what that will do to our export capability, our revenue generation, our ability, our tax base, it will be extremely significant. We've done a macroeconomic impact assessment on the impact of this refinery, and the numbers are extremely exciting for the country. The last one is to create a value chain. So when the refinery produces these products, there is an industrial value chain that is created, there's a supply value chain that's created, there's a skilling value chain that is created, that we shall home base but will eventually be exported by our businesses through the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Uganda Manufacturers Association, and that's how nations grow.
Now, a quick one, Peter. I've seen nations that went far ahead of us or early enough in oil exploration. I'll give a country like Nigeria. I talk about the likes of a bit of South Africa. All these countries seem to be just waking up. However, refineries, I think Nigeria, this tycoon, forgotten his name, is trying to speak.
Dangote.
Dangote is just investing in a very huge refinery there. But previous, we haven't seen these countries so much in refinery. Uganda, we are just going into this. This is a part that maybe these other countries have been skipping, though with so many benefits, so not treasuring into or venturing into very seriously. Why have we, and what are the chances of this being successful?
No, it will definitely be successful because we have the right technology, we have the market, we have the crude oil, we have looked at what can be produced out of the crude oil. So technically we are sure that the refinery will work. And commercially we have done the analysis. It's probably one of the most profitable projects within the sector today as we speak. Now, why did some countries not do it? And to be fair, many countries have done this. Many countries with oil and gas resources have many refineries. Some have not succeeded in that space, but the majority have really succeeded. If you look at the numbers of oil-producing countries that have refineries, most of them have succeeded. And today, we are getting most of our petroleum products from the Middle East, from India, from other places that have successfully run refineries. Some much bigger than ours, 2 million barrel refineries, 1 million barrel refineries. Dangote has built 600,000. So it is successful. And if you look at the one of Dangote, for instance, it's structured like ours, a refinery with the petrochemical industrial park or zone around it. And that's exactly what we are trying to do. Now, Uganda is lucky that we've got our crude oil with so much to learn, so many countries to learn from. And it's possible that some countries didn't have enough sample space to learn from. But Uganda also took time to go out there and look at countries that succeeded and those that did not succeed so much and to draw our lessons. So when you look at our legal regime, our commercialization structure, it is drawn on these lessons. So we are sure that the refinery will be of significant value to this country. And the crude oil will definitely benefit this country and not be a curse, because we've undertaken studies that have allowed us to put in place checks and mechanisms to avoid what has been dubbed as the oil curse. But even the one that is less spoken about, the Dutch disease, where all industry ceases and everybody goes into oil and gas. So when you look at our law today, and our governance structure, we've put in mechanisms that I cannot go into now that avoid, that limit, that disable the Dutch disease or the oil curse from happening. So we are sure that we'll be successful.
Well, that is an area of interest. Actually, I'm happy that our country has looked into the refinery, because there's so much that countries give out when they don't have refineries.
Yes.
Look at the plastic industry.
Absolutely.
A very booming industry, but if you just export crude oil without a refinery, then those people are going to get all these byproducts, if I may call them that, and invest. Look at the fertilizers. We import so much fertilizer. Now, if we just go into oil production and we don't have a refinery, that means that someone is going to take our crude oil, then we import fertilizers. There is so much byproducts, and I'm happy that our government is taking that direction. Now, this brings me back to Humphrey. This is the third edition of the oil and gas media campaign. Just give us a background of this.
So thank you for that. Now, as the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, we owe it to our members and the general public to be able to provide them with regular updates, with the correct information about this sector. And so about 3 years ago, the Chamber of Mines and Petroleum came up with the idea of 90 days of oil and gas. And every week within the 90 days has its different theme. We're trying to put out as much information to the public. And the first 2 times it was very successful, generated a lot of interest. We got a lot of feedback from the general public, lots of questions and lots of comments that did come through. And so we felt that at the end of the day, it's something we need to continue with. This year, we are running this media campaign as the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum on all media platforms, whether they are print or electronic, whether it is on the traditional media platforms like we are now, or on other social media platforms, so that we are able to handle the theme that we have chosen, facts about oil and gas, so that we can put as much information. Now, we are aware that during this time, there is a lot of misinformation about lots of things that seems to be cropping up in various circles. And we felt as a chamber, no, it is our place to disseminate and to work with our strategic partners like the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, like the international companies, Uganda National Company, Total, and all the others, to be able to put across what are the facts, what is happening with the opportunities, where are we, okay? Is Fast Oil 2025 even possible? Okay, what is the story of the persons affected by the project? National content, how are we doing with national content? Are we on track to hit our target of 40% value retention from this industry? And when it comes to the environment, social and governance issues, what is happening? What are suppliers doing? What are the players doing around ESG? Because these are important conversations that need to take place. When we talk about tax issues, because tax is another thorny issue, what is happening? What is the tax regime in place? What are we saying to government? What are we appealing to government to be able to do to assist in the tax area, so that we can spur the local players, the Ugandans, to be involved in this sector, so that we achieve our national content targets, and many, many other discussion points that we are having throughout this media campaign.
Now, that well said, and we believe we need more participation in these 90 days of campaigns from you, the public, so that we ensure that not only people in the private sector and government get interested, but even you Ugandan. This is a natural resource. This is our oil. Ugandans, this is our resource. And this brings me now to Ali, just next here to me. How big is our oil and gas sector? And with this campaign, will we be able to realize or optimize full potential of this sector for economic growth? People sometimes tell us, don't be excited. Oil is not going to be here forever. You know, soon we shall have it done. A lot of sometimes misconception, like Humphrey called it. So just paint a picture for us.
Okay, thank you. In respect to the reserves, we have what is called STOIP. STOIP is the oil in stock, if I should say. And so far what has been confirmed is 6 billion barrels. And out of that, there is what can be scientifically recovered from the ground using the latest technology, but also considering the safety of the reservoirs and the environment. And that is around 1.4 billion barrels. That is only coming from the Albertine region, where close to 40% has been explored. As you are aware, there are more explorations being done by a company called AMA, another one called DGR in the Albertine. Those are not counted, and we expect that hopefully we can have good news from there. But also of recent, government gave out a license to Uganda National Oil Company as our baby. Uganda National Oil Company is the Ugandan fully owned company where Peter works, and it is also doing exploration in an area called Kasurubani. But we also have another company called Doranto doing exploration in 2 areas. It has 2 licenses in one area. But we also have prospects in the sides of Karamoja and so on that have not been fully licensed. So basically, from a resource perspective, we have that 6 billion and 1.4. And I think you are right. one of the reasons and why we thank the chamber is for us to come and transparently put what is on the table. When you say 1 billion barrels, then the country should know that this is not going to change everyone's life. That's why we need to put it on the table to manage expectations, that it is 1 billion barrels, 1.4, which is recoverable out of 6. We are also doing exploration, which is looking for more. And that's why we come out transparently to see this is what we have in our, farm. Now, out of that, so far, the progress is that we are managing it. I mean, we are going to develop it under 2 projects. One is called the Tilenga, another one called the Kingfisher. Tilenga, the one being taken forward by Total, is expected to produce around 190,000 barrels per day. And the one of Kingfisher, around 40,000 barrels per day. And so far, from February, when FID was taken, early works have gone on, civil works in Tilenga and civil works in Kingfisher, and everything is on course. We are going to use 4 rigs, 3 of those rigs to go down in the reservoirs. Those reservoirs are between 1 to 7 kilometers underground. So we have to bring rigs. Those rigs have been brought. I think you've seen some of them. State-of-the-art rigs. They are called walking silent rigs. They are environmentally friendly. And I should say that so far, the 3 of them that have arrived, 2 have already started drilling, and that's what they call spudding, which was commissioned by HE in January. And the good news is that they have reached the reservoirs, which have confirmed that the oil is there. And that is very good news, because from a scientific perspective, when we've been saying, do we have oil? We have been like how you are in labor, when you are pregnant as a lady and you have scans, and they are all showing that there is a baby inside. Now we can confirm that, the doctor has touched the baby and the baby is there, although that baby is 7 kilometers underground. Now we are building the facilities that are supposed to bring that oil from down, 7 kilometers down, to the central processing facilities, which are supposed to clean that oil and remove impurities, and then 3, do the flow lines that are supposed now to transport it from Bulisa and from Buhuka Flats to Hoima, where it will start the long journey first to what Peter was saying, partly to go to the refinery, the 60,000, and then the balance starts now the long journey of ECOP to the coast for selling. The ECOP was one of the projects also, FID was taken. It is also in progress. The early works have started, especially from Tanzania, because Tanzania gave us a port, Tanga, but the port is fresh. There is a big port which is operational, but the space they gave us is a green zone. It is a new area. We have to do all the infrastructure on that port. So that's where most of the work has started, and it is moving backwards. But also in Uganda, construction has also started. Houses for the people who are affected, 177 families, they were handed over, and we are on course for first oil 2025.
Well, what an elaborate process, and I must thank you, Ali. You've really taken us through. And of course, now, for those who have been having misconceptions, what is happening? They're already drilling oil, they are stealing. Now, with such a process that Ali has mentioned, we are even still about 7 kilometers to get to actually the actual oil. So, well, rest your case.
Yeah, probably to add.
Just highlight all that, because sometimes cheap talk messes developmental programs.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
So our oil is still intact.
Yeah, I should stand here and assure Ugandans that your oil is still intact. It is still underground. in the reservoirs where they are, where it is. The only oil that was extracted, which is also still there under the custody of UNOC, is the oil that was extracted as test crude during the exploration phase. And we have kept that in containers, and if you go there, and many people that have gone there, we have shown them. It's completely scientifically and economically and logistically impossible that this crude can be sold in the state, extracted at night, as you say, and sold in the state that it is in. And therefore, I think such comments should really not see the light, should not even appear on a national television like UBC.
Thank you for that clarification. Now, Peter.
Yes.
You're from the Uganda National Oil Company, and a fairly hard one for you, I must say. Now, international organizations, civil society organizations, and many that come out there have talked about this entire process, more so when we talk about the East African crude oil pipeline, that is the ECOP, that there is violation of human rights. Environmentalists have also come up and said, well, fossil fuel is something we are going away from this, and because of the dangers, I want to get it from you. How safe is the process? And how is this campaign going to help as far as providing information and confidence amongst Ugandans that this is the way to go, but all safety measures have been put in place?
Thank you. A very loaded question. I'll attempt. So true, oil and gas extraction happens within the environment that people live in and that interacts with everyone. And so it has evolved into, its operations have evolved to really have extremely high standards in matters of environment, in the matters of managing diversity, and matters of managing social impacts. And so I'll quickly run through the process of what all our projects have gone through. All our projects are required and have done environmental social impact assessments. And the way, what this process does is to look at all impacts that the project will have on the environment, on the social, and literally classify them into high, medium, and low. And then the next process after identifying these impacts is to avoid the high ones, the ones with the highest impact. And those that can't be avoided are mitigated. So we go through a mitigation mechanism. And that mitigation mechanism will include things like what my colleague Ali has just been talking about. What kind of rigs do you deploy? Because definitely the silent walking rigs are more expensive than the non-silent walking rigs. But what is the reason? Because you're trying to mitigate something. So Tilenga, Kingfisher, East African crude oil pipeline have all had very stringent environmental social impact assessments that have aimed at minimizing the impact that will have on the environment and on the people. And these have been applied based using Ugandan laws, which are very stringent, by the way, if you compare them with the many laws in the world, extremely stringent. But we've also followed international finance cooperation standards, the IFC of the World Bank standards. And so we've applied the highest levels of environmental management. Second, in relation to people, we've tried as much as possible to avoid populations, to avoid impacting on people. And so you will see that the projects will be designed, especially the pipeline that is linear, has been designed to as much as possible avoid populated areas, but where we have impacted people, we have a process of resettlement. And that process includes having conversations with the people, telling them the impact that will, the type of impact they will have, because there are two types. There are those that will be required to physically relocate their homes, and those that are just economically affected. The pipeline is passing through a small piece of your land, and all we need is to acquire that piece of land, 30-meter corridor. And so that process has happened. And then we realized from the standards, of course, but also from experiences, that if you just approach these people and not take them through an education system, a system of training them. When we compensate you, how will you manage your money? What will you do? How would we ensure that we protect you and improve your life? It doesn't help. So we've taken them through financial literacy classes. We've taken them through all sorts of things to ensure that when the compensations happen, they are put to good use. Now, for those that are physically affected, which, by the way, for the East African crude oil pipeline, are 4% of the total number of affected persons. And that is a really small percentage based on our route choice that ensured we do not impact people. We've given them two choices. One, that you choose a nice house, we build for you and hand it to you, or we give you cash. And most of them, fortunately, chose to be given houses. Those houses are significantly much better than the houses they had. And I think we've run a campaign where we've shown that before and after, the house before and the house after. The houses have solar power. They have the solar power with batteries, so they will never run out of power. They have a very nice kitchen, a very nice toilet. Their lives have been improved. But just because I can't go through each and every of these items that we've taken, the theory that we run that drives these campaigns to ensure that the people who are impacted by the project are left in a better position than before they interacted with the project. Good. And when it comes to national content, they are even given higher priority than any other national, the people who are impacted. Even skilling of their children, we've had vocational institutions that are paid for by the project that focus on the children of these affected persons. So we can say there are significant testimonies out there. Now, will oil cease to be relevant? That is an interesting topic. But what I can tell you from all studies and from all the uses that we see of oil and gas, petrochems, and generally the demand and consumption in the world, we still have oil and gas as a key player in the world energy mix for the next 50 to 100 years. Yeah. Now, the issue is not really oil. The issue that we are dealing with, which is climate change impact, is about greenhouse gas emissions. And the fight that we should all be involved in is how to reduce these emissions. And how do we reduce them? There is technology now, carbon capture and sequestration, that is improving. There is planting of trees. There is other efforts. Even in crude oil, we are producing better. And I can tell you how are we producing better. We've done significant areas of investment, including we have 5 solar plants, solar farms for the pipeline, and other investments that we put in place to ensure that the carbon dioxide that is emitted by our crude oil is one of the lowest in the world. And what has been our result? Our result is that today we shall produce 13.3 kilograms of carbon dioxide per barrel that we produce. And that may not sound significant until I tell you that the world average is 33 kilograms per barrel. So that means that we've done everything to produce the crude oil better than most have done. In Uganda, I'm sure you've seen on TV and other places, and you've seen where oil is produced there, literally like furnaces. Yeah. In Uganda, that's called flaring. They are flaring the gas that is produced with crude oil. In Uganda, it is illegal to flare. So, but oil comes with gas. So what are you going to do with the gas? And what we've done is that we are going to produce liquefied petroleum gas out of that gas that in other countries is burnt and emits carbon dioxide. So we've not only saved the environment, we are going to produce liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, about 100,000 metric tons of LPG per year. And why is that significant? It is significant because Uganda's #1 source of carbon dioxide or greenhouse gas emissions is cutting of trees and burning them. And LPG is a perfect replacement for charcoal and for firewood. And so we are not only stopping the degradation of the environment and the cutting of trees, we are limiting the emissions from the production and replacing forest cover loss by LPG, and with just one stone, we hit 2 birds.
Well, I just wish I had more time, because actually Peter's revelations here answer to the global fear of fossil fuel and green gas emissions. Now more so when you talk about what we are going to be meeting and how we are protecting it, 13.3 kgs per barrel. I think that is something very tremendous when you look at globally for them that are emitting 33 point actually. So, and above all, what has caught my interest is LPG. You know, when you talk about green gas emissions, if every household in Uganda, now for my viewer, Peter is a bit technical. He's talking about this gas you can use for cooking.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been quite expensive now, but if it's produced within Uganda, and homes can run away from charcoal, homes can run away from firewood, automatically I won't tamper with our forests that so much. Most now that even have a ban on exportation of these rocks, but time is not so much on my side. I'll have each of my guests give me their final remarks, beginning with Ali.
Okay, thank you. For me, really, I would like to thank the Chamber of Mines. Chamber of Mines is an association of the companies that are doing business in the sector. And it's very good that they are taking up initiatives. They are not behaving like the proverbial animal which sits up in the mango tree, eating the mango when someone is cutting down the roots. They have come out to bring the industry to the people. It's good that it is no longer government which is talking. It is now the private sector which have said these are the opportunities and they are coming, and I think the people should be able to ask them, how are you benefiting from the sector? What did you do to benefit? How can we benefit? Because these 90 days are being led by the actual people in the trenches, but the actual people who are doing the work. And every person you see here, from Asimwe, the CEO, to all the contractors you will see, are part of national content, because they are the ones we've been fighting for. Now they are doing the work. They have come to share the experience with Ugandans, and I'm very happy with that. Thank you.
Well, now Humphrey, your parting shot.
Well, thank you for having us. From the Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, we want to invite all Ugandans to be part and parcel of this sector. This is our oil. This is our country. We can benefit from this. We can be involved. And as a Chamber of Mines, our arms are open to guide you, to guide any person, to say, look, here are the opportunities. Here is what you can do. Here is how you can benefit. So that at the end of it all, our future is bright when we benefit from what God gave us in this country. So come, let's be part and parcel of this. And in these 90 days as a Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, we're going to give you information. You can reach out to us also, and we'll be able to help you, navigate you, guide you through all the opportunities, through what are the facts, what is the fiction, so that at the end of the day, our country develops. This is our oil.
Peter, as we move out of here.
Thank you, and I want to join in thanking the Chamber of Mines and Petroleum for organizing this. I believe the next 90 days are going to disseminate a lot of information, and I ask that people tune in and listen and understand and support and participate. My parting shot is that oil and gas in numbers, I think, let me just use numbers. So Kingfisher and Tilenga are going to invest about $8 billion, US dollars. The East African crude oil pipeline will invest about $4 billion. That's 12. And the refinery will invest about the same as the pipeline, so for another $4 billion. That is $16 billion in total in the next not more than 5 years. It's real money. It's going to be invested here, and it's probably the biggest single investment in terms of a project since independence. So whoever has capacity to work, has capacity to provide a service, has capacity to enter a joint venture partnership with another person, and you are an adult living today, this is your best opportunity. I call upon you The laws are on your side because they give you priority over international companies that are really flocking here and coming and trying to make a killing. The opportunity is now. It can't be postponed. Sitting and listening to conversation, diversionary conversations of oil is being sold, ignore them. Please aim for the opportunity, and we're here to support. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Ali, Humphrey, and Peter, for your time. One wise man once said, "He who has not researched has no right to speak." Please, the chamber is there. Approach it so that you have the right information. And above all, opportunity comes to those who are prepared. Prepare yourself, for this could be your life-changing opportunity. Get all the information you need to know, how best you can tap into the enormous benefits that are there. And I'm very grateful that a number of opportunities have been reinforced for you, the nationals. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow, God willing, for God and my country. Good morning.